Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Barbie Dolls of the Week. This week I want to talk about 1990s in the Barbie world, or the 1990s in the Barbie world. I was recently asked, or it was suggested, that I talk some about Barbies from the 1990s because I've spent the last two episodes talking a lot about dolls from the 1980s playline compared to current day playline. And one of my viewers had commented, rightfully so, I must say, that there were a lot of great dolls in the 90s. So I didn't mean to infer that there were not. I just wasn't dealing with the 1990s right then. But, one of the things he pointed out, and he's right, is that one of the great things about the 1990s for the Barbie world was the sudden increase in the amount of different dolls. Not just the superstar face or head mold, but a lot of different kinds of dolls. And so today, that's what I want to show. I want to show some of the variety, and there was a ton of variety in the 1990s. Now, I have to also say that there were dolls in the late 80s and some in the 90s that I just did not care for. And I wasn't collecting as much, believe it or not, in that time frame. Um, Part of it was also financial. I wasn't as able to financially collect, at that point. But as far as the dolls, I've got several I want to show you, so let's get started. I want to start with some from the Dolls of the World. Now, I've done a previous video or two on Dolls of the World, so this is not to focus on that. But I do think that I want to show a few of those because they're really good representations, some of them from the 90s, of what we're talking about when we say a lot of variety. So let's start with this Dolls of the World Indian Barbie. And, she is quite different looking. And I really like this doll. I think it was very well made, or, designed. Obviously, I think the Dolls of the World have gotten better over the years. So really, the ones that come out in the last 4 or 5 years are even better. But I like this doll a lot. And it's, to me, a good representative of something a little different. Now, I also have that one in the box. So I wanted to show you it in the box as well. And this doll, by the way, is from, I believe it's, let me just double check, but I think this one is from 1995, yes. 1995. And, they do have some of the information on the back about the country, so that's nice. And I think they did a good job with her outfit, or costume, whatever you want to call it. So that's Indian Barbie. And here's Polynesian. This is also from the 90s. This is 94, I believe. I'm trying to look here. But here's what she looks like. And I like that face on her. Something different. I recently came across in some clothing that I had gotten from a lot, this top here. And I didn't realize until today when I looked at this again, oh, there it is. That's the top that I had from something else. Yeah, this is 94, and it's the group that included some of these that you see below. Honestly, one of my least favorites from this group is, oops, not that one. I'm pointing to the wrong side. This one. I sold my one of those because I didn't like it very much. There's just other ones I like better, and also they've come out with better Irish ones. Okay, this is the one of my favorites from this time period. Mexican Barbie, just beautiful. I mean, such a beautiful dress for, something like this. And I love what they did with her hair. I'm not big on bows in hair, but at least these are flowers. So it looks nice. So she is another great one from this series. And I noticed 1995 had a lot of great dolls. So I'm not sure what was going on then, but I think they started to really kind of raise the bar a bit with some of these dolls. And one other Dolls of the World that I want to show you to represent that group. And this one, let me see. Gosh, these dates. Oh, this one's 93. They've always in different places. But this is the Italian Barbie at the time, and of course there have been at least one since then. And I always liked this one a lot. And different face, you know, looks quite different than some of the, definitely some of the 80s. And she's got, also in the same group was Kenyan, Chinese, Dutch, and Australian, as well as Native American. And I have most of those. I didn't really get into the Native American as much. I do have one, I believe, but when they did the one in the pink and the one in the blue, I didn't get those. It was a little too much when they did that. That's the one criticism I have about Dolls of the World, is that they focus on the same countries a little too much. You know, like maybe 3 different Australians, 3 different Irish, you know, Italian's been done several times. You know, I'd like another Icelandic. What about Israel? I don't know, just some ideas here. Zimbabwe, I don't think that one's been done. So there's so many countries to choose from. Anyway, let's move on. This series was a cool series that Mattel did for Barbie also in 1995. And I'm going to show you one from that series today. And that is the Flying Hero Barbie series. Now, this was really different at the time, and a great 90s expansion of ideas, and so they did Flying Hero. They had a so-called bend and move body, so very flexible, kind of like what a lot of people like today. And this one in particular is the Theresa. So Flying Hero Barbie, but the Theresa doll. And she's got that really nice yellow outfit. She's got a really nice face on her, I think. Actually, she kind of reminds me of the Mexican one we just looked at. You can see her face. I mean, not exactly, obviously, but just a little bit. And one thing I noticed that I don't know if I'd noticed before, at least recently, is that the cape she's wearing can be taken off and worn by the little girl on her wrist, or boy, if he so desired. Wear cape on your wrist and share the power with Theresa. Fly Theresa doll through the air. And you know, I never did get this horse that was in the set. Wasn't interested. A little too something for me. I don't know. But then there were some more glamorous dolls that were also present in the 90s. Lots of them, actually, but I want to show you a few. I got 4 here. And I think with the 9 or so dolls we're looking at, it's a nice way to show some of the variety of the 1990s. Get this box back the way it's supposed to be. Okay, so this doll is Crystal Splendor Barbie. Some of you might have heard of her. Now, obviously, I got this at Toys R Us. It was regularly $24.99 at the time. And this was in 1995, yet again. So I must have been busy in that 95, 96 time period buying dolls. So I'm not sure where I got the money all, but I must have been working a lot. This is one that, you know, she's still in the box, but this part's been taken out just to show you better. Her hair was up somehow before, but it's kind of loose and flowing now. And thing is, she's a really pretty doll. She's got great hair, and I really kind of like the outfit, even though it is so big and poofy at the bottom, which I don't usually like. But she kind of slightly, you know, is a tribute maybe to Crystal Barbie from the 80s. But this is Crystal Splendor Barbie, and of course there was a Caucasian version as well. So that's one that, one more look at her. She's got, you know, a great look for the time period. So to me, I think this doll is like the ones I like in the 80s. Now here's another one. This doll benefit the Children's Organ Transplant Association. And also, I believe I got this one, yes, at Toys R Us, $24.99 originally. I hope I got some sales. I have a feeling I did. And this is Charity Ball Barbie. And here she is. I can get these damn glares off here from the stuff on the side of the screen. I'm not the fondest of this dress, never have been. I don't like it, to be honest. I mean, it's just barely okay. But I really like the doll. And there's a dark-haired version of this one that I have as well. That's white. But this is the African-American version. And I think it's a cool doll. This is one that I would love to, if I ever take her out, put her in a different dress. And for one thing, I don't think this is the best color for her. I mean, I think she'd be great in a yellow or something bright. But anyway, that's another one from the 90s. And this one is 97, so a little later in that decade. And then we have the last of the three from the Toys R Us group. This is Pink Inspiration Barbie. And she's from, let's see, 98. So one more year later. You know, they had it for a while. Toys R Us had Pink Inspiration, Ruby Radiance, Emerald Elegance, Purple Passion. So it was like the colors collection. But some of them were cool, like this one, and elegant and sophisticated looking. And some were kind of like hair out to here and dresses out to here at the bottom. So those are the kind I'm not too fond of. But this one, I always loved a great updo, and this one has a great updo. It's just, I think this is such an elegant doll. It doesn't have the big boofy bottom on the dress that I don't like. It has a nice, I guess that's a cape back there, I'm not sure. But it's just a great looking doll. And I'm pretty sure I do have another one of these that's dark haired as well. Because I think all these last three, I have two versions of each, I think. I'd have to double check. And last but not least, to represent the, what was this called? The Artist Paintings Collection, Reflections of Light Barbie. This is from a Renoir inspired doll, and I've showed this before in a previous video. But since it represents the 90s, I wanted to show this again in this video. And this is from 1999. So we've actually covered multiple years in this decade. So here she is. And I think this is an absolutely stunning doll to represent the 1990s very well. Another thing I really like about this doll, if you look at the face, is the realism of the face. You know, that's one thing that I will say about the 80s dolls was they're not the most realistic looking in the face. They look like a doll. This was like where they were starting to look more like a human in the face. And I really love that. I think the realism is stunning. And I think that some of the dolls that I don't collect, that I see other people displaying online, that's one of the things I like, is that they look so realistic, and I guess I do really like that. But you know, in the 80s when we were collecting dolls, there wasn't a lot of selection, and I think a lot of times people are really partial to what they first started collecting, and that's only natural. And so that's why I talk a lot about the 80s, and I love the 80s dolls so much. Or not all of them, but a lot of them. But it doesn't mean I can't appreciate dolls from other decades, because believe me, I didn't get as many as I did with just the 80s. There weren't enough. But yeah, these are great representatives of the 1990s, and I hope you've enjoyed seeing some of those. And for some of you, maybe they're new, some of you may be familiar with them. But in the meantime, enjoy your week, and I will talk to you next time. Thanks.